So welcome to session 5, and we're going to be covering acceptance and letting go. And this one probably seems really interesting. Like, what possibly could acceptance and letting go have to do with healthy relationships? I think as we start processing it and talking about it, you'll discover it actually has a lot to do with our ability to have a healthy relationship. If I am unwilling to let go, a few things don't happen. Sometimes if I can't let go, I can't show up. Sometimes if I can't let go, I can't move on. We've all probably had this experience. We've held on to something really tightly and longer than we should have. And I think we've known kind of deep down in that kind of honest voice place within us that we need to let go. I think sometimes the fears that run in a lot of people's minds are, but this might be as good as it gets for me. That gets us into a lot of trouble sometimes. And the more that we try to insulate ourselves from pain, the more we try to control our lives, the smaller that life gets for us. So if you can receive any invitation from me in this whole series, and there's a lot of stuff that I think is actually really important that we're covering. The most important thing is being honest with yourself, hearing your own truth, hearing what you really need, what you really want. Because what happens is if we can't move into acceptance and letting go, if we can't move into kind of what we talked about before, this risk and this idea that there might be pain or loss involved in our choices, we will continually betray ourselves. And so if we can name and expose our fears and our resistance to acceptance and letting go, it frees us to just show up in a healthier way for ourselves. It is not easy, but it feels so much better. All of these building blocks along the way where we're discovering how fear and pain are driving us and how it's showing up in our boundaries and our attachment style, in how we think about ourselves, how we think about other people, our ability to be vulnerable. I think what we need to part of that acceptance and letting go is accepting some of those fears that are there, acknowledging that they're there. And so what happens is when I can acknowledge my fear, my pain, for one thing I can grieve maybe some of the pain around my fear. I can recognize maybe some of the losses that I've experienced that have kind of created that fear, and it will help me move through it. So a lot of people come into my office in a lot of pain. You know, that's kind of like a pretty common assumption in a therapist's office. And pain takes up a lot of room. And grieving can take up a lot of room. And most of the time the work that we do is figuring out how to connect and name the pain so we can start to grieve it and feel our way through it. We're going to really explore acceptance and letting go and invite ourselves into really practical ways to take some inventory on where our energy is going and what's driving us, and maybe what's our resistance to letting go, or even taking an inventory of things we know we need to let go. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person. That's not what I'm going for here. It really is letting go of fears or old ideas about my life, or how I think things should be, or parenthood, or there's so many ways that life is inviting us to loosen our grip so we can be in it.